So just how woke is your child's school? A new study finds social justice ideology is taking root in American schools across the country, and it's much more often than you'd think.
And these studies are overwhelmingly shifting the political leanings that students have. So let's go off the wall to learn more. The study we're talking about in particular this morning is from the Manhattan Institute. It's a conservative think tank here in New York City. Well, they surveyed 1,500 Americans, so young people. This is not a college problem. That's what I want to disabuse people of. These are kids they surveyed who are coming out of high school, middle school and high school, and the findings of their political leanings very staggering.
We're talking about how widespread what they term is critical race theory plus radical gender ideology. They're calling that CSG, critical social justice.
Yes.
In truth, the really true umbrella term is critical theory. It is a Marxist ideology that divides society and people based upon oppressor and oppressed. And it really doesn't matter which line you draw, race, gender, sexuality. The point is to separate and divide people along the lines of oppressor and oppressed.
A good old gift of the Frankfurt School back in the 1930s made its way all the way into your kids' elementary, middle school, and high school classes. And what we're finding out is it's everywhere. This survey saw that 93% of students saw at least one of those categories. So the study lists a bunch of the categories. It's white privilege, systemic racism, patriarchy, gender fluidity. Take your pick. Almost everybody's getting a portion of what the Marxists exported.
Here's something I think is incredibly important, though. What happens is when these concepts are introduced in your child's school, almost 70% of kids feel like they are not capable of voicing some opposition. They're afraid to offer the rebuttal.
38%, by the way, the inverse of this number is if kids are not introduced to that, they're less afraid. 38% of kids who didn't get any of this critical social justice say, hey, I'm willing to speak out, because they haven't been confronted with the orthodoxy yet. And by the way, it's not just government schools. It's also religious schools, non-religious private schools, so-called elite schools, even homeschools will.
Because it's baked into the curriculum that many homeschools pull offline and then use in their homeschooling.
That's what our book, Battle for the American Mind, talks about.
Right.
Even if you go to a school that doesn't try to be woke, the curriculum has been written by progressives already, so it trickles into that.
So here's the impact of all of this. Let's take a quick look at that. Here's what happens when your kid gets a lot of this critical theory in school. Of those exposed to know, so you don't have any critical theory introduced in your education. 20% end up Democrats of the kids, 27% end up Republican.
This is a traditional education.
Right.
Like the type you got before we introduced
non-tilted playing field.
Non-tilted playing field. Once you expose, and this is a lot of concepts, if you're exposed to 6 or 8 of the concepts, look at these numbers. Over 50% Democrat. I don't even, that's it. Because this is taught as the way of thinking,
right,
not a way of thinking.
You can break it down by grade, by the way, and how it builds upon itself and exacerbates.
Oh, no, this is by the number of concepts you see.
Oh, the number of theories that you see.
Correct.
Yeah.
Look at
so
that
the more
line.
you hear, the more you get exposed to these critical theories, the more it tilts Democrat.
Get this one, by the way. Young people with a Republican mother, so you have a Republican household, if you're not taught any of this, 61% come out to be Republican, right? If you are taught this with a Republican mother, 25% Republican, 30% Democrat. Rachel's jumping up and down over there.
So, you know, a minute ago I said a non-tilted playing field. And, you know, the reason that so many kids feel afraid to voice any opposition is this stat. Look at this. 7 in 10 say when they're taught critical theory, it's not taught as one theory amongst many that you can debate. It's taught as the truth. They always say that, Pete. They go, oh, you should be exposed to different theories on how to view the world. Fine. But that's not what you're doing. You're telling us this is the one truth. The
patriarchy is real. White privilege is real. Men and women are not a real thing. That's what the Marxists wanted from the beginning. They didn't want universities because most of what kids are formed by is by the age of 12. That's the ethos they have for the rest of their life. They've been wanting to get to younger kids earlier, and it's working.
Here are some ways to potentially, we always want to turn optimistic and towards a solution. Here are some ways that this indoctrination can be remedied. State government intervention, what we're seeing in Florida.
Yep, get rid of DEI because they're publicly funded classrooms. By the way, also school choice. State legislatures can give that choice to parents. And this is from the Manhattan Institute, the suggestions they make.
Yeah, teaching students about law and the Constitution. To me, this is the big one. You know, teaching civics. teaching why America is a unique experiment in the course of human history, teaching about eternal principles, not simply seeing the world as oppressor and oppressed.
And you can teach real history, not whitewashed history, the flaws, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but ultimately the principles that have liberated so many, and then increase transparency. Parents get a say, get a look into the classroom, whether it's being present, whether your kid transitions genders, or maybe cameras in the classroom. Maybe we should be able to see what's happening in class. And what?
I know, I like cameras. I know this is the mansplaining segment, but I'm just going to jump in here. I'm sorry. I know it's the mansplaining, but here's the deal. I don't want to spend my dinner time deprogramming my kids from all of this.
Yeah. Amen.
So I think just got to get them out.
Well, first,
Out of public school system.
I agree with you.
you got to know what's happening.
Yeah. Bye, guys.